Good morning, everyone, on our first day back. My name is Patty Ward, and I'm a third grade teacher at Brookwood Elementary, and I've been on the math cadre for the last couple years. Oh, okay. And I guess that's, last year I moved from 4th grade to 3rd grade, and so I kind of switched partway through the curriculum maps. I had helped with the 4th grade one, and then when I moved to 3rd grade, I kind of finished up helping with that one. So that's, I guess, why I'm here today is, all right, hold on, I got to make it connect again. To help you understand, I'm going to kind of go over some things that EngageNY has in its program, and then I'm going to demonstrate a lesson for you. The lessons, they schedule about 60 minutes per a lesson, but I think we'll get through that a little bit faster because you may not have as many questions as a class would have. So how many of you, just really quick, I want to see where your understanding is so far with Engage. How many of you went to something like either in the day in May or some of the summer classes? Okay, that's good. That's a lot of you. So that will probably, how many of you feel like you have a million questions, but you're starting to know a little bit about the program? Okay. How many of you feel like I really don't know a lot, I'm excited to learn? Okay. So throughout the year, I'm just going to say this at the beginning, if you have questions as the school year rolls on, feel free to email me, or you can always email Erin Smith about questions. She's great to get back with you about things. So last year, partway through the year, I taught several modules from Engage in my class, although I taught it without really a lot of training, so I kind of just, grabbed the manual and went for it. So I'm familiar with it, but I now feel like I've read it and I know a lot more about it, so I'm excited to share a few things with you. Okay, so getting started, here are some tips that I have come up with Engage. It's a lot of text. It's overwhelming at first because it's just a lot of small text. So read the manual, highlight, and take notes. Pretty self-explanatory. Really important is read each module overview. There are 7 modules in the 3rd grade curriculum. If you take a half hour, 45 minutes to read those, 5 pages of module overview, it's going to make a lot more sense to you. So it's really crucial that you do that. Also, as part of that, become familiar with the new documents on the Grade 3 curriculum website, which I'm hoping I'll be able to show you at the end. But there are some documents on there and even some videos on how to use GoFormative exit tickets. Okay, so I want to put that plug in there right there. I watched the video. It was so slick and easy. I did exactly what the video said, and I have a GoFormative account with my class entered in and all the exit tickets for the entire year. Okay, so I think that's really important as well. So in Engage there are 7 modules, and here are the 7 modules. I'm not going to read all these, but you can kind of see it starts out a little bit different than prior curriculums where they started with place value. This one starts right with properties and multiplication. The lesson I'm going to demonstrate for you today is multiplying, equal groups of. Okay, so it starts out with, jumps right into multiplication, division, solving units 2 through 5 and 10. It's 25 days. Then it comes back to place value. But I know a lot of teachers have already said place value is not the beginning, but they've had place value in 2nd grade module 3. So that they should be somewhat familiar with place value. 25 days for that module. Multiplication and division with 6 through 9, 0 and 1. It's also 25 days. Module 4, multiplication and area, 20 days. I would say the area part was kind of a trickier more complex understanding for my class last year when I taught with Engage. That was one of the harder than fractions, I felt like. I felt like fractions, they did a great job with Engage, teaching them fractions and really building, very slow baby steps building. It's 35 days, collecting and displaying data 10 days, geometry and measurement word problems 40 days. So when you add up all those days, it doesn't fit in our school calendar. So on the third grade curriculum website, there's a document, and I spent like an hour or two adding days and trying to make it work. So what I did is, that document, it tells you, it has a little paragraph from each module overview, and it says you could omit this lesson because it's taught here, or you could combine these lessons, and it gives you an explanation why or where that material will be covered. So you'll really want to look at that, because you may not want to, you probably don't want to spend 25 days. So what I did, I looked at our school calendar and I took, based on how many lessons were omitted or combined in Engage, I kind of adjusted that third grade module overview. So I had to take a few days out of each module, if that makes sense. So I just want you to know that document is there so that you can kind of correspond with that.
Is that something that you could push out to us, how you created that calendar of what lessons could be combined and deleted?
I could, but it's on the grade 3 curriculum.
It's already done?
It's already on there. I can show you where it's at the end, because I think that's really important. So great question. Okay, so today there are 4 parts to an Engage lesson. So I kept thinking about a peanut butter sandwich. So I brought my jelly. We're going to pretend this is peanut butter. It's almond butter, but that's what I had in my fridge. And I'm going to set these up here so you can see. And of course, you have to have 2 pieces of bread, right, for a peanut butter sandwich. You have to have a top and a bottom. So Engage, they have 4 parts to a lesson. And what they want us to really stress to me, to stress, to the teachers, it's really important. We don't want you to run out of time and not do all 4 parts. Because you know how you run out of time sometimes when you're teaching. They don't want us to skip the student debrief. And I'm going to go into, I'll tell you why, okay? Okay, so fluency practice is kind of like, it's like your first piece of bread for your sandwich. It sets the foundation. You're going to do group counting. You're going to do sprints. You're going to do something where they say add 2 to a number, or add 3, or subtract 3 from a number. And it's kind of like counting by, adding 2 each time. It's really a short little, warm-up, fun, engaging. This part, you get to be, the fluency practice is probably, I just think is really fun. Last week, my team and I met, and we all were talking about how our dream gig was really to be a PE teacher. You get to wear tennis shoes, you get to wear comfortable clothes. So, wouldn't that be great? So fluency practice in Engage, it says actually think of yourself as the athletic coach. You're going to take off your hat or your shoes, put on your tennis shoes. You're going to be like a coach during the fluency practice, because it's supposed to be fast. It's supposed to be, movement-based, energetic, and adrenaline, rich activity. Okay, so and it's really fun, and we're going to do that. Okay, the application problem. This is a short little segment of the lesson. There's 1 problem for each lesson, and there's a process that Engage uses called read, draw, write process. And what that means is you read the problem, you draw out the problem, and then you write. You could draw, Engage uses a lot of tape diagrams and number bonds. And I'm not sure if we're familiar with those, so I'm going to just draw a tape diagram. You can do these on paper, or you can make strips of paper as well. And this might be 10, and this might be 8. This tape diagram represents 8 and this one represents 10. How many do I have altogether? That would be 18. So that is a tape diagram. They also use number bonds that look like this. So you have, it's really part whole. You can do that with addition, multiplication. So just so you're familiar, those you're going to see in almost every lesson in Engage. Okay, thanks, Megan. Concept development. This is the meaty part of the lesson. This is like the peanut butter, the most important part of your sandwich. It's where you get like the, you know, the dense protein. It's going to fill you up part. And it's about, it could be 30 to 35 minutes or a little shorter. This is where differentiation takes place. This is where you could say, you know what, my students have got this after 20 minutes. We are going to move on. Or you're going to say, maybe I'm going to have them do skip the problems that have pictures and go down to the story problems. So this is where you're going to, and there's always a 2-page part of this. You're going to want to, you know, check your students' understanding and see what they're ready for. You may need to slow down. You may need to speed up. You may only do part of the problems on the problem set. Okay? This is where you could think about, I would like you to do problems 1 and 3 on the first page, and then 4, 5, and 6 on the second page. You can do could-dos and must-dos. The student debrief. And this is crucial to not to be left at, you know, skipped at the end of the lesson. This is where students talk with each other. They compare their problem sets, their problems, and they look and talk about how they solve them. This is where, as a teacher, you talk about the new concept, you know, bring it back to the objective for the day, and then you're going to go over those important points of the lesson. So in the student debrief, and it can be, and it's usually they give you about 10 minutes. So these are the 4 parts of the lessons. Okay, I'm not going to go into questions yet because you came to watch a lesson demonstration, and so that's what we're going to do at this point. So, and Megan, would you mind just turning that off, or I just feel like that's so bright. So now we're gonna go into the activity part, and I think I'm going to turn the front light on for this. Okay, class, today our lesson is about understanding equal groups of multiplication. And we're going to start with our fluency part of our lesson today. So we are going to do some group counting. And I would like you to group count with me. So, you know, I'm going to teach this routine to you, and then at the beginning of the year you'll teach it and go over it slow with them, and then you'll do it so it's fast. We're going to count to 20 forward and backwards. So when I do this, that's forward, like 1, 2. A closed fist means stop, and a down thumb means backward. Okay? So let's try that counting to 20. Let's begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 10. I'm tricky. 10. So good. 11, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now when they get good at it, you could do that even faster, okay? All right, now we're going to count to 20 forward and back, but we are going to whisper every other number. So we're going to say 1, like 1, 2, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 18. Oh, I'm going to stop you. And then we're going to go down. So 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Great job. You guys are doing now. So now we did whisper, speak. Now we're going to replace our whisper with a hum. And let's do to 1 to 10. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, now we're going to go down. So we're going to 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. Great job. Great job. And that's tricky. We'll get better at it with more practice. So now we kind of replaced some of our counting with whisper and humming, and now we're going to count, but we're going to count every other number, and we're going to just think the number in our heads. Okay, so let's try this one to count with me to 20, and then we'll go backwards, all right? So think, this one's 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. We'll stop and then we'll go back down. So we'll go 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. All right, great job. So that, now, I want you to turn and talk to your partner. And what did we just count by, class? So turn and talk with your partner. I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, great job. We just counted by 2s. And we changed directions, but we counted by 2s. Okay, so now I'm going to get a teacher insert. So for this very first lesson of Engage, that is the fluency practice. So that section is over. But most of the Engage lessons have 2 or 3 different fluency practices. And on the document, there's a sprint that is actually in lesson 2 of the module. So it's not in this lesson. So at the end, if we have time, I want to do this sprint with you because it's really fun. It's a 2-page, it's kind of like math facts. So you could kind of think of it as they go quickly, they get to answer everything on the first page. They have a minute, just answer as many as you know. And then you actually check, you go through. If they miss one or they don't know one, or if they don't know it, they circle it. When they get to the end of the minute, they circle where the last problem they were on. And then you go through and check it. And so as a teacher, I would be reading the answer saying 2. And if everyone who had 2 would say yes. And then I would say 4. So let's just practice that. Just pretend you all have the right answer. So 2, yes. 4, yes. 6, yes. 7, yes. 9. So and then when they get to the place where they haven't answered any problems, that's when they stop saying yes. So you know you're done as soon as the yeses kind of fade out. And then they do it, and then they check, they go through and they correct any that they didn't know. And then you do the sprint again, and the goal is to improve by 1 problem. So they do a similar sprint. There's always 2 of them. Okay, and in between the sprints is a great time we did fun movement activities with counting. So I hope we have time to practice one of those at the end. But now we're going to go into the second part of our lesson, which is the application problem. I'm going to write the problem on the board, and you can use your whiteboard on or scratch paper, or you can use the whiteboard on your iPad to solve the problem, okay? And when we're thinking about this problem, we are going to think about the read the problem, draw a picture, write an equation or a number sentence, and then write a sentence. This routine, we're gonna pretend you know this routine, but I'll show you what that looks like with the first problem. So on your whiteboards, go ahead and solve this problem. There are 83 girls and 76 boys in the 3rd grade. How many students total? Are in the 3rd grade? Okay, so it's the first day of the first math lesson of the year when you're teaching this lesson. So who can help me write a tape diagram that would represent, so here's our problem, we've read it, but first of all, do you see any important information that we should underline or circle? Maybe some numbers?
83
Yes?
girls,
Okay, 83 girls and
76 boys.
76 boys. Okay, and what's the question asking? Total, how many students total? So I'm going to underline that. Okay, who would like to help us write a tape diagram? Explain to me how we could use a tape diagram.
Well, I was going to say, should we circle total? So you know if you're adding or subtracting?
We could do that.
Can you not just add regularly? Do you have to use the diagrams or the circles?
We will show that. You're right. So in your head, you're probably ready just to write the equation, write the number sentence and solve. What would that look like?
83 plus 76.
Okay, so 83 plus 76. And what would that be? 159 total. But Engage is really big on pictorial models. And it really helps when you get into concepts that are harder, especially fractions. So I'm going to show you what a tape diagram looks like. We could draw one strip that represents the girls. And how many girls? 83. So this one represents the girls. And we could draw another diagram for the boys. What should the boys' tape diagram look like? More than the girls or less than the girls?
Less.
Less, because there's only 76. So I'm going to put it about right there. 76 boys. And we circled total. So what operation are we going to use? Addition. We're going to add. So we're going to add these two together. It's like we're taking our tape diagram and we're moving 76 up there. We're putting it together. Okay? We know the total is 159. Here's what our number sentence looks like. Let me show you what that looks like as a number bond. 159 is our total, and our parts are 83 and 76. So with Engage, there's one application problem for each lesson. So, and I just found a free document, and I think that I may have posted that on there on Teachers Pay Teachers. It was free. It has all of the application problems in one place. So one suggestion was to use that as part of your morning meeting or kind of your morning warm-up. is a way to, you could do that first if you wanted, and that could be kind of a warm-up problem for the day. Okay, so now we're going to go into the real chunky peanut butter part of our sandwich, the really important concept development part. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to start out by using your whiteboards on your iPad or your scratch paper. And I was going to show you, this is something that is called the personal whiteboard that Engage suggests. There's lots of ways you could do this. It's a red paper on the back and a white one on the front, and then a personal like cleaning cloth, but they can actually write on this, and then when they're finished they turn it over. So the teacher sees the red part and knows that they're done with the application problem. So that's why it's red and white. It's a quick visual for the teacher. So this is something you could use regular whiteboards. You could have them use the whiteboard app on their iPads. But here is an idea that I thought was kind of clever with the red on it. So on your whiteboards, we're going to practice skip counting. I want you to draw 12 counters on your whiteboard. And on your whiteboard, actually, we're going to come back to that part in a minute. I need 10 helpers. Could I get 10 people that would be willing to come up to the front, students, and help us out today? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 more, 5, 6, 7. Come on up. 8, 9. I guess I can, well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need one more. Sheldon. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a signal like this, and each of you are going to raise up your hands, and we are going to count. We are going to count their hands. How many arms does each person have? 2. So we are going to count by 2s. Let's start down here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, so each person had 2 arms, so we counted by 2s. How many people were up there? 10. So as I'm thinking about this, we had how many arms altogether? 20 arms altogether, but they were in groups of 2. So 2 arms per each person. 2 groups, 10 groups of 2. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see if I want to have you do this again. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, questions, and I skipped the turn and talk part, but I could say, there's a lot of turn and talks throughout the lesson. So turn and talk with your partner about how many total arms we counted. 20. Okay, nice job. So we're going to do this again, and I'm going to write something on the board, and I want you to watch. So we're going to start down here with Mrs. Kanabi, and we're going to count by 2s. And while you guys are counting as they raise their arms, I'm going to write something on the board, okay? Begin.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20.
Okay, so we just counted by 2s up to 20. Look at our number sentence. This is repeated addition, where we added 2 10 times. How many people did we have again?
10.
We had 10 people, so we had 10 groups of 2. Okay, and we now know that 10 groups of 2 is 20. So I'm going to write 10 groups of 2 is 20. Another way that I could write that would be 10 times 2 equals 20. Thank you, volunteers, for helping. You may go sit down. Okay, so I want you to clap 3 times if you agree that 10 groups of 2 is 20. Okay, so we're going to do another problem similar to this, except for we're going to use, I'm going to have you draw counters on your whiteboard, okay? So I want you to pretend that you have 12 counters. And actually for this lesson, what I would actually do is have baggies of 12 counters for each student. And they could use those just on their desk, or you could have them also, if you wanted to use their iPads, they could also draw them on their iPads. So I want you to make equal groups of 2. So you have 12 total, and I want you to make groups of 2. Draw that some way on your iPad or paper. How many counters are you going to put in each group again? 2. So 2 counters in each group. How many groups could you make, class? 6. So you can make 6 equal groups, and they each had 2 counters. Okay? Let's write that as an addition sentence, or repeated addition, to represent our 2 groups. So I'm going to circle the one to show you that's my group. So I have 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. How many counters did I start with? 12. So we started with 12 counters. How many groups again? 6. So 6 2's equals 12. 6 equal groups of 2 equal 12. I could also write that as multiplication. I could write 6 times 2 equals 12. These number sentences all tell the same thing.
Is this under write the equation or write the sentence? Where are you in your 4 thing?
Up here, this is in write the equation.
Okay.
So here would be our, I mean, I'm not having you read a question. I'm giving them the question, and we're drawing it out. So we did that part on our whiteboards, and then write the equation, write a sentence.
Well, this is concept development, not the application, right? So it's
Yeah, that step is really any problem solving, but you want to demonstrate that a lot during the application problem until they kind of start doing it automatically, but a lot of guidance in the beginning. Okay, so let's talk about, I want you to turn and talk with your partner what you noticed about 6 times 2 equals 12 and the other number sentences. Turn and talk with your partner what you noticed, what was the same, what was different. Yeah. There's a free. I shared it on Sketch, I think, but I'll show you that at the end. Yeah. There's a. Okay, so, what are some things you noticed that were the same?
There's a 2 in every problem that equals 12, up to 12.
Okay.
Groups of 2.
Groups of 2. Anything else you noticed, class?
You're adding or multiplying by 2 and get even numbers.
Okay, so when you're multiplying by 2, you get an even number. Excellent.
Gifted.
Definitely.
You can add, you can multiply.
Okay, if you can add, you can multiply. But were my groups adding different amounts? Or were they were adding equal groups? They were the same amount. Two in each group. So multiplication is equal groups, okay? I am going to draw a picture on the board now. And with that picture, I want you to tell your partner why you think these are equal, okay? So here's my picture, and there are 4 counters in the diagram. Turn and talk with your partner and tell me why you think those are equal groups. Okay, nice job. I hear some great things, some great comments going on. These 2 are equal because there are the same amount in each one. They are also the same size, the same object in each group. So if we were to have different amounts, then they would not be equal groups. How could we write, let's write a repeated addition sentence for this picture. Who could help me with that?
4 plus 4.
Okay, we could write 4 plus 4 equals 8. So there's our repeated addition. Equal groups, so we're adding the same number. Let's write a multiplication sentence for this picture. How could we write a multiplication sentence?
4 times 2 equals 8.
Okay, so we have 4 times 2 equals 8. So we have 2 groups and 4 in each group. One thing that, I'm going to switch back to information. One thing that Engage suggests is that depending on the culture or the country that a child is from, they may say, you know, they may say it like that 2 groups of 4 is kind of what we say a lot, but children need to understand that it can be, we can also say 4 times 2, there are 4 in 2, you know, 4 in each of the 2 equal groups. So we want to make sure that they know that both ways are the same thing.
Did they go over the properties or not?
In this lesson,
Or just understanding that it's like associative or distributed property?
yes, yes. Okay, great question. Okay, I'm gonna give you another drawing to look at on the board, and I want you to check my work, and I want you to find the total number of objects. So think about how could we write an addition sentence for this one? And then how could we write a multiplication sentence? Who could help me with the addition sentence? Okay, 4 plus 4 plus 3 equals 11. Okay. how could, now I'm going to ask you this. 4 times 3, I know that is 12. Do you agree or disagree with what I just wrote on the board? Turn and talk with your partner. Do you agree or disagree?
Equal to the picture or not?
Yeah, this is equal to the picture. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, I hear that a lot of you disagree. Can you tell me why you disagree? Someone. One of the groups only has 3, so they are not equal groups, are they? Okay, and here's an important point to stress. Multiplication is equal groups. To multiply, I cannot write this multiplication sentence because I do not have equal groups. So if I were to change my picture, now my groups are equal and this is correct. Okay. One thing you'll notice in the Engage, there are little side notes right here that have clues on how to scaffold if you need more scaffolding, or how to, build if they need more practice. It gives you some things to work on. Or if they're ready for an extension, that you'll also find tips on those notes in your manual. Okay, let's see, I'm checking the time. So I probably spent at least 30 minutes on this concept development part. So what I'm going to do now, this problem set is the part you downloaded, you have in your iPads. It's 2 pages. I want you to work on, I'm going to have you work on problems 1. Well, it's A and C on the first page. And then on the second page, I want you to work on all 3 of the word problems. And in class, it recommends 10 minutes. So I would say you're going to have 10 minutes. I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes to work on your problem set. This is an independent work time because in a minute, we're going to talk with our partner and compare our work. But for the first 2 minutes, I want you to work independently on the problem set.
Where is this in the?
This is one of the documents. So this is one of the documents that I put on Sketch, the lesson.
No, I'm looking at the 4 parts to the lesson. Where are you on the?
The
4
problem set that's part of the concept and application. It's kind of a subset in that category. So we're still in the meat, the peanut butter part, the concept development. Now here it will also say students should use these problems using the RDW approach for application problems. So the read, draw, write approach.
The problem set, and you assigned all of them?
A and C on the first page, and then the 3 word problems on the second page. And we're going to pretend I give you 10 minutes to work on this in class like you would. Because, well, so the first page is always pictorial and models that you can see. So sometimes when I was teaching it last year, I felt like, you know what, they probably don't need to do all 4, so I might have them do 2 of them and then go down to the story problems.
Are you having them do the sprints in Notability and this in Notability, or what were you choosing?
I like doing the sprints on paper, but I didn't print them off for you guys.
And what about these problem sets?
So I did the problem sets all on the iPads.
Okay.
And then I printed the homework sheet, and we kind of went through the problem set, quickly. We didn't spend, 10 minutes, and then we did the homework on paper and the sprints on10 they mostly finished it in class last year. I mean, 5-10 minutes at the most. Yeah. And they could also, what I did is I started math workshop, and that was at their seat. They could finish the homework. So, okay, we're going to pretend 10 minutes is up, and we are going to move on to the fourth part of the Engage lesson, which is the student debrief. Really important. So here's where we are going to, I'm going to ask you to look at your problem sets, and I want you to compare with a partner. So I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to compare your work, or maybe a couple minutes, compare your work with your partner, and I want you to look for things that you understood, look for things that maybe you had a misunderstanding or misconception about, and talk about it with your partner. And here's, you could also do, they suggest the rally, where, you know, one person says one thing and then the other person says, you know, so they only get to say one thought at a time. So, you know, then they go back and forth. So both partners are talking. They're rally robins. So let's do that. So compare your work with a partner.
So they're not really drawing, but in the practice part, they don't actually have to draw anything, right?
Because they're just writing the answer.
The picture's already given for them. So
Yeah, and the problem set. Yeah.
Does it ever,
So,
for the problem,
well,
progress a little bit?
it does.
And like, so like they're actually drawing?
So on the first page of the problem set is always a concept, like with a model or a picture. But then down here is, it takes some of that away.
Where?
The second page is more of the word problems. Like, it still has pictures, but you'll notice it's less scaffolded on the second page.
In the later modules, is it less scaffolded as well? Okay.
So this first page is always more conceptual pictures. The second page, take some of it away, let him work.
Ask you, so for your, what do you call it, the sprints and everything, did you print those off or did you have them on their iPad? How did you do that?
You can do it either way. I kind of like them on paper. I like the sprints on paper and the homework, and then this page I would put on their iPads and we'd work on it together.
What's the homework?
Is it homework look similar?
It's really just like this. It's 2 pages, and
It comes later in the
So you did homework, you didn't do it on the iPad, you did it as printed off?
I did. I just had some students that needed paper.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
And I'm like, if I'm going to do paper for 3, I'm doing paper for all of them.
Yes, that's exactly what we were just talking about. And I think also for math, like if there's something to say about actually writing it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I kind of like 50-50. I use the iPad all day long, but I still like them writing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of old-fashioned that way.
Research would show that.
Okay, so now that you have compared answers with your partner, what did you notice that was similar about your work and your partner's work? Did you notice any similarities? You both did. Did you get them all correct? Did you and your partner do well with them? Did you and your partner both need to draw pictures? Or did anyone draw a tape diagram or a number bond? Okay. What about, did you draw repeated addition? Did you draw the sentences out as repeated addition and then write that as a multiplication sentence? Okay, so some other things to talk about. So this part of the lesson, we also want to talk about the main point of the lesson. The objective on Engage is always at the bottom of every page for the lesson. So if you always need, okay, quick with the objectives at the bottom. So we want to make sure, we know multiplication is equal groups. So I'm going to re-emphasize the main point of the lesson during the student debrief. So talk about that. Repeated addition is the same as a multiplication sentence. So I could go back and point that this repeated addition sentence represents the same total as this multiplication sentence. So kind of just go back and review those main points of the lesson after students had talked. If there's any vocabulary that was tricky today, like today you learned something new. You learned that multiplication was equal groups of. So if I ask you tomorrow, Class, what does multiplication mean? What could you say? Equal group sub. So just review those main points. And now the last part of the lesson, so there's exit tickets for every Engage lesson. It's one question. These are, you can do digitally with GoFormative. They're all, you just, once you set that up, watch the little video, set it up. You can see if they really get it by having them answer, the exit ticket. You could look at those after, at the end of your lesson, at the end of your day. Then you know who you need to work with in small group the next day. So that quick exit ticket. Okay, and that is the end of the lesson. And I wanted to answer questions and show you a couple of things before we have to switch. Karen?
How do you envision managing the exit tickets? Is this printing? Are we putting on Google Classroom and turning them into what are?
Last year I printed, but that's because I didn't have them on GoFormative. I think I envision using GoFormative for that quick exit ticket because they're all set up for you. They're there.
Can you
But
see what GoFormative looks like? I mean, you keep talking about it, but it would be nice to. Maybe everybody else knows it.
No, I want to show you some things on the curriculum map, and I'll show you where that information is at, because it is, okay. Would somebody mind turning off the front lights and then trying to get where I can see? Okay. So if you want to go to the Shawnee Mission website, I'm going to log on and show you. So if you go to this part, I promise you want to become familiar with the stuff that is on the grade 3 curriculum website because there's a lot of new information. So I'll show you really quickly. I want to go over, and I think we have enough time. Are we in here till 10:40? Oh, good. We have lots of time then. I was thinking 9:45. So I'll just show you. If you go under the first tab, you can see the math, scope and sequence. I would save these all to your desktop so you have an easy reference.
I'm sorry, can you slow down? Where are you?
Okay, let me go back. So go to the SMSD, and then I'm under the 3rd grade. If you hover over staff, and then you go to elementary. And then click on 3rd grade. I had mine bookmarked. I'm sorry, I probably went too fast. Here, I'm going to show you the scope and sequence really quick. So you can see they're here for, ELA, science, social studies, which you're probably, there's more information, a lot of new information this year. But we're going to click on math, scope and sequence. Going to probably ask you to save it, so I would just save it, and then I'm going to open it up. So this is something I actually personally worked on this document trying to make, and it's not showing my whole screen. Hold on. Trying to get the whole year to fit. That was tricky, but what we did is we kind of broke up modules by chunks. So like here it's module 1, A through C, and then here's the rest of module 1, topics D through F. So each module, some of them, they have multiple topics, A, B, C, D, under each module. So what I did was I took the number of days that was recommended by Engage for the module and took out those days that said, okay, you could combine lessons 16 and 17 into one, or you could omit lesson 3 because it's going to be also covered in lesson 8. So you'll want to read those details in the module overview, but that's how I tried to make it all fit, was I kind of took out, if it had 5 days that I could omit or combine, then I took out 3 days so that I could make it fit.
So the scope and sequence has the omissions or no omissions?
This has less days to teach than Engage suggests.
Right, does this scope and sequence have the omissions? Yes.
Yes, but you're going to have to, you'll have to kind of adjust, for your class, what you're going to teach. And it'll make more sense when I show you the document.
Do you have something that says, like they used to do many years ago, give us a calendar on this day, you should be on this lesson?
Kind of. I'll show you. Let's go to that document next. I think that will answer that question, because I felt like this other document was really crucial because it was so confusing. So if we go back to 3rd grade, and I think I'm clicking planning resources. So see down here where it says module outline grade 3. This, I would print this out or save it to your desktop, because this is really going to make what's going to make the most sense. I'm under the middle tab for the 3rd grade 3.
Math. Oh, okay. The very bottom.
Yeah, so go.
From my downloads.
Yeah, module outline grade 3.
Minimize yellow. Where are your notes? And this is what the one that you already attached to the on the schedule.
Yeah, and I attached this one on Sketch as well.
I was clicking here, not letting go of my click.
So here's where the explanation is kind of included. So it does say topic A, lesson 1, topic lesson 2, lesson 3. Well, when you get down here, also Engage has mid-module assessments. So you have an assessment halfway through the module, and then you have the end of the assessment module, because there's only 7 of them, so they're pretty big. So right there by lesson 12, we've added the notes that say you could consider combining 12 and 13, and kind of the justification why. And then on lesson 15, you'll see that. And then if you scroll down to 19, you'll see that. Now, if I chose not to skip any of those, then I'm going to be teaching for 25 days, and that's going to put me behind on that color-coded map. Does that make sense? So you really want to take into account those lessons that can be combined. Yes?
Quick question, how this aligns with state assessment, since there's a significant number of area and perimeter and fractions. If those are going to be taught prior to March, before the state assessment?
That's a good question. Fractions, definitely. Area and perimeter come pretty early. What was the other thing you said? Did you say geometry? Measurement is, so module 7, the 7th module, is one of the longer modules, but as I look through that, and I didn't get to teach module 7 last year, but I felt like it was reviewing a lot of the skills that we had learned throughout the year, but maybe with some more problem solving, type activities. So I think I would still, try and get your standards in. If you feel like there's something that is further in the scope and sequence than when you schedule your testing, I would definitely try and teach that before. But it was hard because I was trying to fit the whole year, which was more days than we have school. Mm-hmm. So it was like it wasn't perfect. It was actually kind of,
And that doesn't account for testing days or anything like that, does it?
No, because we tried to build in those days, but really you kind of build them in by doing some of the consider combining or omitting. So all of the modules for the year are on here, and I want to show you at the end of this document, these little paragraphs, this was called the notes on pacing for differentiation. This comes straight out of the module overview for each module, because I felt like this was really important that you see the justification why. Why can I skip this lesson? Why can I combine? And so that comes straight out of Engage. So I would read that when you're planning your module, you know.
Kind of on that topic real quick, where do you find those mid-module assessments? Are those in our books, our manuals, or?
So great question. So the manual doesn't have like the pages that you copy. Those are all on the Engage website. So if we go to, how many of you have not been on the Engage website? Or because if you go there, it has every, like the homework page, the problem set page, it has everything. So why don't you go there, and then if you have any questions, I'll come back to that.
I am on there, like I'm on lesson 1, but I'm just trying to find where the actual tests are.
Okay.
Are there any of those?
If you kind of scroll down, and that's something, at some point I think, the math cadre, they wanted us early on to write our own assessments because these are online for the public. But we really kind of had to step back and say maybe not yet. We need to really finish the scope and sequence and the documents before we dive into that. So if I go into Module 1 on the Engage website, and then let's say I'm going to click on Topic C because that's probably about midway. And then let's see, the overview, I can just view it as a PDF. If I just want to look at it, you can click on the overview. But if you want to save it, always click on the other one. And you can, oh no, that was only the 2-page one, sorry. So that's for topic D. I'm trying to, let's touch those arrows because they're in here. I just have to find where they're at to show you. So if I go to, oh, I know. Let's go up to the top. They're under Module 1, the full module, and then after I click on the full module, it comes up with the assessments.
Okay, I see them now. Thank you.
Yes?
How do you do your homework? Do you send the homework home and have them do both sides? Like, what, I mean, because our district is, you know.
Yeah. You know,
no homework, but then yes homework. And I don't know, I just wanted to see what
you know, I found most of the time they could get it done in class. So I would teach the lesson, the Engage lesson, and then I would have math workshop, and they're stationed at their seat, they could finish. And I printed the homework on paper. So I did the problem set part on their iPads, and then printed the sprint, the 2 sprints, and then the homework sheet, because I just felt like I've had questions from parents, like we had a couple kids that their Wi-Fi never worked at home, their iPad wouldn't connect. So I thought if it's anything that's gonna go home, I'm just gonna do that on paper.
Is there anything that you can give to parents, because tutoring kids at different grade levels, I get lots of frustration from parents.
Yes.
I don't know the vocabulary you're using. I don't know what you're trying to teach. So is there something that bridges that gap?
There is. And it's actually, there are parent tip sheets. It's one for each module. So, and it's a 2-page tip sheet. It shows them like examples of the number bonds, vocabulary. So I'm going to give those to parents at the beginning of the year. And then, you know, you can also just email them out as well. And I think we put those on here, but
additional resources.
Yeah, under additional. So go to the third tab over additional resources. And you can also get these on Engage, but this this is what I wanted to show you. There are a lot of good things. So it's the second one, parent tip sheets. They're already made for you. You don't have to do anything other than share them with the parents.
And where did you say the teachers pay teachers thing was?
Did somebody see it on Sketch? I added. It's not on. I added that later, so I'll.
This might be a question that everyone knows already. The distributive practice and homework and quiz, those are all gone.
Well, they haven't. That's a great question. They haven't said don't. They haven't said don't use it. But here's the answer we were given at Math Cadre. No curriculum is perfect. No curriculum includes everything. Even though by the research they've done, they're saying this is the best of the best. But you've probably, if you've used it, you've noticed there's sometimes it doesn't circle back to a skill that you did 2 months ago that you feel like they need to remember. So they're saying, use your best judgment. If you feel like you should, use that for review, use it. If you feel like, but here's kind of what was happening that was a concern is that teachers were spending 35-40 minutes on distributive review in the morning. So kind of what I decided to do was to continue to use that homework sheet from distributive review that has the 5 problems Monday through Thursday. But I'm not going to do like the quiz on Friday that took the kids, 45 minutes to complete. We're going to just review those skills on the homework sheet. I would say you probably won't have a whole lot of time, but you're still going to want to focus on, I would think I'm going to include math facts, and I'm also going to do that.
My question is regarding the exit tickets. How did you handle the children who did not understand the concept the following day? You had said that you work with them in a small group. What are the others doing, or how did you handle that organization?
I did that during math workshop, and I had kind of we had 4 stations for math workshop. So one was working on math facts, one was at your seat. They could finish homework. They could also I did Zern.com. My class absolutely loved it. It's all the 3rd grade standards. So I'm putting a plug in that. Zern was amazing. And then they had teacher time, which was with me, and then they had hands-on, which I had a hands-on activity or center activity. So we had 4 stations, and I would work with them in small group at that time. I tried to keep it to just a half an hour after the math lesson. But they could finish working on their homework during that time. And then I would help those that I felt like...
So daily you could be meeting with the same group of kids who were...
So I had a group of kids that I always spent way more time with during the rotation because they needed it. So it wasn't like I couldn't stick to 10 minutes for each one. I had to, okay, you guys get 12. And then by the time I would get to like the high groups, they would come back for like 3 minutes and be like, okay, we've got it, Oh yeah, let me get to that part. There's so much on here. Okay, so if you go to, another thing I want to show you, I'm not logged on, am I? 114, 87. There's this, on here there's 3rd grade manipulative substitution list. I really like this because it's broken down by module, and it kind of shows you, here are the basic materials you can get ready ahead of time. So I would recommend go ahead and get counters ready for module 1 for your class. What does that say? Paper strips, so you can pre-cut just little strips of paper. It gives you I think it says 12 inches by 2 inches. And then personal whiteboards. And you're going to use those throughout Module 1. And then Module 2, it has other supplies that you can just get ready ahead of time when planning for the module.
Did you make that, or did you?
It's on the grade 3 website under additional resources. Okay, now I got to show Go Formative because somebody asked about that. Okay, so here it is. Here's what I wanted to show you. It was under additional resources and then lesson plan files. Here is, so all of the modules, they've already kind of separated the sheets that you would either print or upload to their iPad. So you don't have to go into EngageNY, the website, and copy and save all just the 2 pages that you want. Those are already done for you. Here is this document right here. It has the links for the exit tickets for Go Formative. This video shows you how to, so once you set up an account, it's free, you just set it up, then it shows you how to click on it and put those exit tickets into your account, and then you just add your class list. So that, this is under additional resources, under EngageNY lesson files. So I would, these documents are just showing you how to upload to Classroom. If you don't know how to do that, but I bet most of you do. But I would look at these two. Okay, I don't want to keep you over, but if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.